Hey guys, excuse my messy ponytail. I just had a shower and just wanted it out of my way. So I just shoved it up in a messy ponytail. But I wanted to come on and give you guys a little update on my grandma because I haven't really said much since Christmas. So she's doing really well. She's home and she's still in the retirement residence. And thankfully, after being home a while, eventually she now doesn't have to worry about wearing her oxygen 24/7. It's kind of there as needed now. So she's happy about that. And because of that, she's now getting out again. She leaves her room. She goes downstairs to have all her meals now. Unless she's not feeling well, then they'll bring it up to her room. But otherwise, she goes down. She's back into all the activities that goes on at her place. Her mood is a bit better. And yeah, and like I said, I went to visit her last week. Not last week, the week before. Right? I'm getting all my days mixed up. Yes, it was the week before I went to visit her, and she was really happy to see me. She was in good spirits, and she's even going out shopping now. Like, my mom and I both got her, great minds think alike. We both got her gift cards for the dollar store because she loves the dollar store. And so she'll call Wheel-Trans, which is like our public transit has like special buses, or sometimes they even just use taxis. And it's like you just pay bus fare and it picks you up at your home and takes you to your destination for the price of TTC fare. So it's for people that have like disabilities and that, because she's got a walker and stuff. So yeah. So she'll take that to go see a movie or go shopping. So she's out and about and she's doing really well. So for a while now, I've been meaning to share this with you guys because I really thought it was sweet. So going back, I don't know when it was that I saw this. I don't know if it was before she went into the hospital or after she came home from the hospital, but it was one time when I was visiting her. I noticed some things on her windowsill and I was asking her about them and where they came from. And she told me they were from some students. So apparently, about a year ago now, the nursing home or the retirement residence, whatever you want to call it, they had like this program, and the seniors in the building could sign up to take part in this and volunteer for it. And it was where basically, like if you signed up to volunteer, you would be assigned a group of students. I think it was like 5 students per person. And it was grade 8 students that were going to be going into grade 9, starting high school. And it was just a way for them to like just get advice going into high school and that from someone elder. And so apparently, like, the students really loved my grandma. I mean, who wouldn't? Everyone loves her. And so when they finished and they went on to high school, they started high school. After their first year of high school, they came back and they brought a bunch of gifts for my grandma and they wrote some really nice things. So I wanted to share them with you guys. Okay, so the first one. So actually, it wasn't 5 students here. I see 1, 2, 4 students. So first off, they wrote this beautiful letter to my grandma, and I wanted to share it with you. So it says, words, no words can come out of our mouths to describe how much of a great human and how much your existence blesses this earth, especially your positivity and your beautiful smile. The world needs to thank you more for being such an amazing person, but also a perfect and hardworking mother who's put everyone's happiness before hers. You're such a delightful woman who's filled with passion and a heart that's not only filled with sweetness, but also love. When one looks at you, they don't see an ordinary woman, but a woman with a gold heart that'll make you feel so welcomed and as if she's your home. Meeting you, talking with you, writing a biography on you, and making this memory box for you has made us feel like we are somehow connected and we're meant to meet each other because we can learn so much from a strong and brave woman like you. We just wanted to thank you and wish you good luck for the future and also appreciate our journey with one amazing woman. All the best in the future, and we hope you made your days better. So I thought that was really sweet. And so apparently they also had to write a biography on her for school. And I thought I would share it with you because a lot of the stories from her life that she shared with them are many stories that she has shared with myself and other families other family members throughout the years. And a lot of them, like, I remember her telling me about, and some of them were actually new to me. So I found it really interesting. So I'm going to share that with you. Okay, so it says Fernand Gosselin. Now, okay, my grandma's maiden's last name was Gosselin, but they spelt it wrong. They put Gosselin, but we know it's Gosselin. So Fernand Gosselin. Okay, so they I guess put a quote from my grandma, a quote that she told them. And so it says, to be successful in life, be charitable towards others, and don't look down on people. Okay, so March 31st, 1933, a day that was filled with happiness for the Gosselin family. A newborn baby arrived, Fernand Gosselin. They knew that this newborn was their sunshine, named after her godfather and godmother, a baby girl who would soon become a wise girl, but also a threat to baseball teams. Mrs. Gosselin was born in St. Boniface, Manitoba. St. Boniface, a town filled with people who had a passion for singing. And yes, for those who don't know, my grandma was very much into singing as a little girl, so I guess I know where I got it from. But also my dad was musical as well. Like, my dad played guitar and sang, so I think I got it from both sides. So, okay. When one interacts with her, one would be able to see the joy captured with her captivating smile as Mrs. Gosselin talks about her family. And yes, like, anytime my grandma reminisces about things with her family, she always has a smile on her face. Mrs. Gosselin had 10 sisters and 4 brothers. Yes, that's right. A family of 14. Yeah, so 10 sisters and 4 brothers. 12 of them, unfortunately, passed away. Not all when they're young, obviously. Like, a lot of my grandma's siblings have passed away over the years, as they all have aged. But 2 sisters are still alive. Her mother never complained about raising 15 kids on her own as her husband passed away at the age of 55. Her mother was a saint and a phenomenal person. Her mother was an inspiration to her. Mrs. Gosselin's family was one huge and happy family, but not for long. She had 3 younger sisters and 7 older sisters. The 4 younger sisters, including Mrs. Gosselin, were closer to each other, but unfortunately one of the sisters, who was the youngest, passed away at the age of 6. She had leukemia. This was devastating for her family, especially Mrs. Gosselin. She felt that her world had come to an end because she really loved her little sister, and now she was gone. However, after their sister passed away, Mrs. Gosselin and her other 2 younger sisters decided to be the 3 Musketeers. This let them feel that no matter what happens, they will be there for each other and no one can break them apart. Soon enough, Mrs. Gosselin's life had went through a massive change. She had moved to Toronto as soon as she turned 18. She thought Toronto would open new doors for her to make more money. One would say that Toronto is filled with many varieties of jobs, but also her sister needed her help. Her sister was having trouble in raising 3 babies because her sister's husband was barely home due to working on a railway to make money for his family. Although Mrs. Gosselin's brother-in-law was barely at home, she really liked her brother-in-law as he took her all across Toronto to travel to new places, which gave her a chance to learn more about the city. She stayed with her sister until she met her soulmate, and she knew that he was the one. Mrs. Gosselin had met Robert through her sister's friend. Soon they fell in love and decided to marry each other. She had been married for 30 years to Robert. Sadly, Robert doesn't live anymore. May God bless him. I thought that was really sweet. My grandfather passed away when I was, I think, 7 years old, and it was just a few days after my cousin was born. Yeah. That's right. I was the first grandchild, then my cousin Brandon was the second grandchild. Jessica was the third grandchild, and a few days after she was born is when my grandfather passed away. Even though Robert has passed away, his legacy lives throughout his and Mrs. Gosselin's 3 kids. Mrs. Gosselin has 1 daughter, my mom, and 2 sons who are still living at this moment. Her daughter's name is Deborah, but everyone calls her Debbie. She's 64 years old now, living in Toronto. She also has 2 sons who are Ronald and Christopher. Ronald is the oldest son, who is 58 years old and lives in Barrie, Ontario. Christopher, who is her youngest son, and he lives in Ottawa. Furthermore, Mrs. Gosselin has always been proud of one accomplishment, which was raising her 3 kids really well and never being ashamed of them. Now she's happy for her kids, as now she has 7 grandchildren. Therefore, one thing Mrs. Gosselin really wants is an extended family where she has many great-grandchildren. So far, that hasn't happened. Although Mrs. Gosselin didn't like school, she was a student who was athletic, talented, and who joined a lot of extracurricular clubs. She wasn't a big fan of going to school, but one thing that couldn't stop her was her love for the subject, music. She loved the subject music because she got to sing and she got to listen to music, which she loved and enjoyed to do. Mrs. Gosselin went to a French Catholic school where all her teachers were nuns. She never really took school seriously, as she didn't like it and especially hated doing exams. After Mrs. Gosselin graduated high school, she knew what exactly she wanted, which was to not attend college, but instead moved to her next stop, Toronto. Even though Mrs. Gosselin didn't like school, she was in a lot of extracurricular clubs and sports teams, which allowed her to become an amazing and outgoing leader in person. When it came to extracurricular activities, she cared a lot about activities such as singing and sports. She loved and participated a lot in sports such as volleyball, racing, baseball, and basketball. Mrs. Gosselin was particularly great at baseball and racing. She did lots of racing for which she had won a lot of medals for. She believes she was a fast runner due to how short her legs and height were. As well as Mrs. Gosselin's favorite was baseball, as she was an amazing pitcher in it. Who would have known the fact that this girl with short legs would soon become a threat to baseball teams? No one. Other schools didn't like her when it came to baseball because they knew she was a competition for them. Mrs. Gosselin was great at attempting different sports. However, one sport she didn't attempt was hockey. On the other hand, one sport that she did attempt, but she had trouble with and gave up, was swimming. She couldn't swim because whenever her brother would try to help her, she would always end up at the bottom of the pool. Everyone knew how to swim in her family except her. Not to forget, Mrs. Gosselin was also a talented singer who had a passion for singing. Mrs. Gosselin was into the arts, more specifically singing, and in her days she would listen to French music. Singing was more than just an extracurricular activity to her. To her, it was a hobby that would always paint a ray of sunshine all over her face. Everything she loved had to somehow connect to sports or singing. For example, Mrs. Gosselin loved to watch television, as she'd watch sport games and TV shows that would include singing in them. Overall, these passions and extracurricular clubs have shaped her into the person she is today, an outgoing, talented, athletic, and an amazing leader and mother. Mrs. Gosselin has had many jobs during her lifetime. During high school, she had a part-time job that she really enjoyed, which was working in a hospital as a nurse, where she was taking care of babies. Yes, my grandma loves babies. Her two sisters gave this job to her as both of the sisters were working at the hospital. She loved every minute of working in the hospital and didn't care if she had to change diapers. She just loved babies, and she still loves babies to this day. Everybody has jobs they love and ones they don't. For Mrs. Gosselin, her job at the shoe store was the one that she didn't like. She didn't work for a long time there. When she was short $10 to $20, her boss would accuse her of taking the money and would call her a thief. She didn't like people calling her a thief. Her boss was really strict, so soon she decided to quit the job as she couldn't handle her boss. On the other hand, Mrs. Gosselin's favorite job was working at a place where they made records, but also worked in the office. The name of the place was Quality Records. Also, Mrs. Gosselin had many jobs when she was single. Two of them were at a paper factory where she had made boxes in different sizes, and the other one was working at Lily Cups, where they would make paper cups. Although she had many different jobs, one would be able to see that Mrs. Gosselin didn't give up no matter what, and did everything she can to make money. One might wonder why this wise woman is worthy of a biography which could be based on someone else. Why? The answer lies in Mrs. Gosselin's personality. How is it possible to not have an interest or be curious about a delightful woman who's filled with passion and a personality that stands out? A woman that has a heart that's filled with sweetness, but also love. A woman that has a wise mind, but puts herself after all the people she loves. Yes, the woman one is talking about is Fernand Gosselin. She is a true leader who had always followed her heart instead of listening to what people thought. Furthermore, she's a strong woman who's very empathetic towards a lot of people. A caring lady who never likes to see anyone looking down at others and instead being charitable and kind to everyone. But more importantly, she's an amazing mother who went through a lot to raise her 3 kids and now she is so proud of. When one looks at Mrs. Gosselin, they can see a woman with a heart of gold who throughout her whole life has helped people like her sisters and children and has put their happiness before hers. Now here she is living in, I'm not going to say the name of the retirement residence, obviously, with no regrets about her life, but rather thankful for everything she has. So I just thought that was really sweet, and I've been wanting to share it with you guys, and I kept forgetting to, but I was going through things on my phone and deleting things off my phone tonight, and I came across it and remembered that, yes, I wanted to share that with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed hearing that story about my grandma. I know that when I was in college, we had to do an assignment. I don't even know why we had to do this assignment exactly. I don't know how it related to early childhood education. I'm wondering if maybe it was like an elective class or like a social studies type class, but we had to interview an elder as well. And I have even more stories that my grandma gave me in that report, and I kept it because of that. And I think it's somewhere in our garage. So I don't know. One day I'll have to try to find it and dig it out to share with you guys, hopefully. I don't know. I'm going to have to... The neighbors upstairs are literally hoarders, and our garage is like packed to the brim, and like our little, we have like about 4 bins in the front corner, but like they've put stuff all over our stuff. So I don't know how I'll be able to get in there, but hopefully one day I can get in there and share those with you, because she shared some great stories with me too. So getting back to her singing though, one thing that wasn't in there, I don't know, I thought it was in there for some reason, but I guess I didn't see it in there, is she actually used to sing on her local radio station. I don't know if she would go into the studio or call into the studio, but she would quite often be on her local radio station singing. So I thought that was cool. Over the years, like as she's grown older, she's lost her singing voice, but I really wish like there was recordings like of her on the radio back then, because I would have loved to have heard her singing as a young child. That would have been really neat. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.